Hello and welcome back to the Manga Lair. It's official, the Demon Slayer anime is coming to an end, with 3 final movies to cover its remaining chapters. So that being said, as I like to do, let's go over how much has been covered to this point, what the averages were, and see how much these movies are adapting and how much faster that pace would be than it normally would. So let's start out with Season 1, which had 26 episodes, averaging 2.02 chapters per episode, covering Volume 1, Chapter 1, Cruelty, to Volume 7, Chapter 54, Good Evening Rengoku. Next up, Season 2, focusing on the Mugen Train arc and the Entertainment District arc, over 18 episodes, averaging 2.44 chapters per episode, and covering Volume 16, Chapter 54, Good Evening Rengoku, to Volume 11, Chapter 97, No Matter How Many Lives It Takes, Part 2. Next up, the Swordsmith Village arc, which averaged 2.73 chapters per episode, covering the events of Volume 12, Chapter 98, The Upper Ranks Gather, to Volume 15, Chapter 127, The Rumble of Victory. And finally, Season 4, the Hashira Training arc, the most recent season, which averaged only 1.49 chapters per episode, and covered Volume 15, Chapter 128, A Request for Instruction, to Volume 16, Chapter 139, Falling. With all that being said, that means of the 205 total chapters, 139 have been adapted, leaving a total of 66 chapters left to be adapted. That means with 139 chapters covered, an average of 2.17 chapters were covered every single episode. That means that each movie has to adapt 22 chapters. This also means that more than likely, the first 2 movies will cover the entire Infinity Castle arc, each one doing half, and the final movie will cover Sunset Countdown, as Infinity Castle was 44 chapters, and Sunset Countdown was 22 exactly. Now, none of that puts into perspective how fast this adaptation is really going to be going for these last 66 chapters. So, if we were to call these movies an hour and a half, which is the typical length, and say that 22 chapters will be covered in each of these hour and a half segments, then it would be covering roughly 7.33 chapters in a span of time similar to one episode. And while this is very fast, the final 2 arcs are a lot of fighting, which can be adapted much quicker if it needs to be.